I'm not trying to be a pessimist, but I've seen people go to jail for way less than this. Remember Trump was impeached for inciting a insurrection. Those are charges, right? He was technically indicted in theory, right? And so Meadows was part of that, and we know that most of the Trump inner circle was part of that. And by the way, I was grateful for Liz Cheney this week for coming out. She had a Twitter thread. I don't know if you saw this, and she was like, "Yo, we've talked to 300 people. We're doing work every single day. We're getting more information every single day," and it felt like they were not doing nothing. Like it felt like they were doing something, and the optics are that they're not doing anything. So my only worry is that this all leads to nothing. Or I doubt Mark Meadows is somebody that you could flip. He seems like super intertwined in the Trump world, but it just seems like this should lead to something. Other All right, here's what I'll say, John. You're going to push back on this, so I'm just going to say it so we could have the banter. If this doesn't lead to anything, then this experiment we call America is no longer works. That's my statement. If this doesn't lead to anything, we have failed as a country, and we have to at some point start over.
Possibly, possibly, but I will tell you, and this goes back to one of the things I've talked about, and it's the balance thing. Think about it. We are now 12 minutes into this episode. We have a Democratic president by the name of Joe Biden, and I'm the first person to say it on this podcast today. We've not yet talked about Build Back Better. We've not talked about the infrastructure bill. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I also think there needs to be balance. You've heard me say this. So I think we need to continue doing what we're doing. We need to continue as relates to trying to hold Trump accountable. But I also don't think that we need to voters vote. And we know all the different obstacles, but we have to, the name of this podcast, multitask, right? So I want Trump held accountable. I want Trump held accountable in the worst way. I want Trump held accountable so much it hurts. But I can't stake everything. I can't stake my optimism on us holding him accountable and everything else. I can't stake it all on that. I've got to look at the fact that we're going to have $35 a month in insulin. I've got to look at that roads and bridges are being built. We need to hold Trump accountable, but we are so focused on Trump that most people aren't. Most people are more concerned about how they're going to pay for their child care, how they're going to, pay their bills, inflation, all this other stuff. That does not mean that we don't hold Trump accountable, but there's so many people who are staking whether or not we win or lose. And I think it's a pretty big deal if we're unable to hold him accountable. There's some severe threats. I don't want to downplay the risk in not holding him accountable, but it seems that we're so consumed with it at every level. Now, what's funny is I'm obviously very close to a member of Congress who's not involved with any of that stuff. Do you know how much that stuff comes up in our discussions? Zero, because we're talking about other stuff, the things that people really care about. When you go to the political events, everybody's talking about we got to hold Trump accountable. When we're talking to the everyday voters, it doesn't come up. It doesn't come up. So I want it to happen. I want it to happen so much it hurts. But I also think that we run the risk of putting so much eggs in the basket of holding them accountable when we potentially have winning messages that are not getting out because there's so much energy being put into holding him accountable. He's got to be held accountable. Do not get me wrong, but we also need to make sure that people get their $35 a month uh, in what is it? Is it insulin or no? Yeah, insulin, I believe.
The insulin
Uh,
capped, yeah.
yeah, capped at $35 a month. So I'm just saying that we have to be able to multitask. We have to be able to look at the entire playing field, and we know that that's important. Go back. We always use analogies. You know that we need. One of them will be our running game. One's our passing game. One's our special teams. One's our offense and our defense. I don't know where we want to put it. Maybe it's defense, and it's a big deal. We got to get it to happen. but you've seen teams win even when one of those things fail, right? I don't know, we probably that would be a fun show, is to go ahead and take all of the different things and assign it. This is our offensive line. This is our defensive line. This is our. But do you understand what I'm saying there? And so I don't know if it's even a pushback or banter. I just think that we have to look at it in the big picture.